Legal Services Corporation. I think many of you have heard of the very, very popular book, Evicted, which studied evictions in Milwaukee. If you read that book or if you know about it, you know that very often the best resource for low-income people being evicted to access an attorney is a Legal Services Corporation-funded legal aid or legal actions office. President Trump proposed eliminating this entirely, of course, and in the House budget, they give it a 20% cut down to $300 million at a time when evictions are a veritable epidemic and we need to be investing more and more into Legal Services Corporation.
Joe mentioned the Evicted book, and I think that in many ways, while the UW had spurred so much of our community to be reading that book, I think for many people, the context of that seems distant, right? It's about Milwaukee, and we know that must be applicable here, but what does that really mean and look like in Madison? So I want to share a story from our city, from frankly in my district. So I was contacted by a constituent just a couple months ago who is living in an apartment that doesn't have a working stove and doesn't have a working toilet. She contacted me because she said, "What can I do?" And so we started talking about, all right, how can I help? How can I help in this situation as it relates to your personal living situation? You know, I can, we start talking about, all the different organizations that she's already talked to, that she already knows about. And at the end of the day, she says, you know what, all the cheeks, it'd be great if you could talk to the landlord. Happy to, okay, let's do that. Calls me back the very next morning, said, hey, don't do that. Don't talk to my landlord. I don't want to get evicted. This is the best I got. It already cost way too much. I'm essentially living in squalor, right? I mean, this shouldn't be an acceptable scenario for anyone in our community, to be living in an apartment with literally no stove and no toilet. What are you going to do? Well, my neighbor lets me use their toilet. What are you talking about? Well, and they've already got my first month's rent, and I'm really nervous that they're going to keep that, and I don't even have a lease on paper, so I'm really scared that I'm going to get evicted, I'm going to be homeless. This is better than nothing. This is the reality in Madison, Wisconsin in 2017.
The Trump budget proposed to eliminate the legal services funding to the Legal Services Corporation. This proposed slashing of the HUD budget, I mean, this is part of a larger campaign and attack on low-income people that includes taking away the protections, dehumanizing them, putting more requirements on the programs to make it harder for them to access benefits and meet their basic human needs. I'm one lawyer representing people in eviction cases in 9 counties, and my position is almost exclusively funded by the Legal Services Corporation. It's terrible now, is what I'm trying to say, and we're working hard to improve it. But it is just the thought of what could happen if these sorts of ideas gain traction.